Yeah, about $50.
Oh, you see him?
I'm also I teach containers, but I'm trying to make it people understand the difference between virtual machine and containers. So this is why I'm here, and it's great. I want to congratulate you too for this thing. That's gonna.
Nice. I mean, I'm so excited that we have people like experts in the house. Like, if anybody has any question, they can also ask you. Because
no, I'm learning here.
trust me, everybody is learning. For example, I and the other my organizer, we went to this SIG meeting, the one that for the cloud provider. So Kubernetes has like different groups called SIG, like special interest group, that like focuses on the part of Kubernetes. And you know, we get a chance to like listen to, you know, people that make pull requests and everything for people, Google, you know, OpenShift, EKS, everybody was in the room. And I felt like I only know like 10% of what's going on in Kubernetes. Like, you know, we are all learning. There's something, you know, there's difference between learning the front end and there's also the back end. So there's always a question. Because it's very hard to like, you know, comprehend the whole components. Because right now, Kubernetes is being split into components. So it's very hard to actually know the whole thing. So having people from your background, it's going to be really, really helpful in case someone has a question.
Yes, I think that if you know 10%, you're probably the guy that knows the most in the entire world, right? Because it's huge. Kubernetes is not a product, right? Kubernetes is everything. It's a lot of disciplines. So it's if you know that's 10%, that's good.
I mean, trust me, my 10% is like on my best days. Like when I'm on my best days, like not sluggish. Yeah, I mean, it's mostly it's mostly like the way most of what I know about Kubernetes is most like, you know, production use, right? Production use, trying to deploy, because we have like a couple of customers that we are actually trying to help to migrate into containerized into like Kubernetes like infrastructure, and in the process picked it up, started like, you know, learning it. So yeah, so we are all learning. All right. Hey Ramirez, nice to meet you.
Yeah, let me quiet here. Give the others.
All right. All right. Okay, one more person, then we can start the meeting. Anyone else wants to introduce ourselves? Come on, we're all friends here. All right. I think today is going to be great. Okay. All right. All right. So if we have no one else, so what we can do is we can just get the party started. So to do that, I'm going to. Oh, sorry, Ramirez. It's like my video is dark. Yeah, sorry about that. Like the way my apartment is set up is such a way that it's like the light only comes in from one direction. That direction I don't really like it. So I'm this is me. So sorry about that. Okay, this is my face. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to hand over to the other Tunde, and he's going to mostly administer the meetup. But before, wait, I mean, just to let you know the structure, is going to talk about, you know, the topic of today. We have discussion, and at the end of the day, we are going to have like, you know, give a couple of information, and also there's a possibility like, you know, someone might, you know, just give a chance for people to also like, you know, voice discussion, what they think, how they think we can improve this meetup. So that's what happens at the end of the meetup, and everything has to be within like an hour. So I'm going to hand over to Tunde, and he's going to lead us. All right, let me mute myself.
All righty. Finally. Hi. Hi, everyone. Get this started. This is not showing. Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Oh, nice, nice. All right, so today my name is Babatunde Olu Isa. Most people know me as Tunde also. I co-organized this meetup with the guy that was just talking, and this is going to be the second series for this certified Kubernetes administrator certification presentation. So we went over a couple of things on the last meetup and also had a couple of discussions. But before I dive into what we're doing today, I would like to know if anyone has taken the certified Kubernetes administrator exam within the last 2 weeks. If we have any other CKs or CKADs in the today's presentation. So anyone, if there's anyone in, if you can tell, share a little bit about your experience taking the exam, or if you plan on taking the exam soon, also just feel free to unmute yourself and just talk about what you've been doing. Anyone? All right. So like I said, my name is Babatunde. Most people know me as Tunde. I'm a certified Kubernetes administrator and a certified Kubernetes application developer. I co-organized this meetup. It's good to have everybody that is here today. Thank you for coming. So in the last series, we went over a couple of things. What Kubernetes was, and we went over the certified Kubernetes administrator program, what it takes to actually register for the exam, and what it takes to prepare for the exam. And so this is one of the reasons why we're actually doing this presentation, to go over the easiest ways and the fastest ways to complete this exam, and also understand some of the possible questions or areas that questions will be coming from for the exam. So a lot of what is going to be happening today is going to be a lot of what is going to be happening today is going to be mostly demo. And what we'll be going through is, we'll be going through labels, logs, debugging, sharing of data between containers, look a little bit at init containers during this series, and secrets. In the last presentation, we did something on pod services and deployments. So today we're kind of going to, so today we're kind of going to pick up from there, and in the next series we'll be doing something else also. All right, so let me share my terminal. At this point, does anyone have a question at this point?
Yes, Nintendo, this is Luis. And my question is, it's necessary to have practical experience as a system manager on Kubernetes to be able to successfully go to the certification? Because
Exactly.
yeah, because I don't have I work in like in an office that I I'm not system administrator, like so it's necessary to have this experience, or just if yes, I just give up because
Well, well, so one of the biggest thing I stressed in the last meetup was, you know, to taking the certified Kubernetes administrator exam is one big thing that is really going to help you is having a lot of practice. This is a fully practical exam. So you have 24 questions, I'm sorry, and with 3 hours to take the exam. So there's a lot of speed. You need to work with speed, and also like I can't stress practice enough. You need to have a lot of practice. Now you don't need to have had like 2 years of experience or a year of experience working with Kubernetes to take this exam. The biggest thing is, you know, going over the curriculum, looking at the Kubernetes.io documentation, you know, checking out some of the links that were provided. A good resource is also the Kelsey Hightower's Kubernetes the Hard Way GitHub page. Those are some of the things that would actually help during you know, if you're just looking into this certification. So experience would definitely help with this exam. But I think what is key to taking this exam is, you know, being familiar with what the exam entails, knowing fast ways to actually create objects in the Kubernetes cluster. And like I said, just keep on practicing, you know.
okay, cool.
Hey, Tunde, if I could butt in, I've had a lot of success using Minikube locally to do kind of katas so that I can practice speed and play with a lot of the elements. And then it's possible to get some free credits on Amazon or Google and be able to start up and tear down Kubernetes environments.
Right. So like basically from my experience, I think the Minikube cluster is I think it's adequate to actually prepare for this exam. Now for some part of the some questions that will be coming from the exam, like, you know, you might need to work on a cloud platform, you know, or work in an environment that has multiple nodes. So Minikube is a single cluster, so it's a single node cluster. So you probably want something more to actually work on some concepts. For instance, in this case right now, you know, with Minikube, it's very, very difficult to troubleshoot nodes or simulate certain things on Minikube compared to when you're working on a cloud platform. So those are probably the advantages you get working on maybe Amazon or using GCP. So any other questions? Any other questions before I get to the demo? Okay, so today one thing we didn't look at last week was labels, right? So from when I took the exam, one thing that was really one of the things that, you know, that was big on the exam is knowing how to use labels. You know, how to use labels to find out what pods are running, or using how to assign labels to pods. So right now I'm going to simulate creation of a pod. a single Nginx port and assign the port a label, and also use that label to actually get that port. Also, a lot of things that I'll be doing during this presentation is going to be directly on the command line imperative, because that saves you time during the exam, other than, you know, creating a manifest and typing everything from scratch. All right, so that looks good. So right now, if we run kubectl get ports, we see that now we have the Nginx application brought in. So okay, so right now what I did was I just looked at currently what we have as the labels on the Nginx port that we have. So I displayed the current configuration of this Nginx application using kubectl get, and the dashboard stands for output. And what I'm specified by putting YAML means I want it in the YAML format. Right now, the labels on it is the run and the port template hash. So right now, to add an additional label to this, one thing we can do is run the kubectl.
Hey, Babatunde.
Hi.
Yeah, is it me or I'm not seeing your screen?
Oh, you're not seeing my screen?
I don't know.
Is that the same with everyone?
Tunde, I see it. But I also see a request in the chat to make the font bigger for somebody on a mobile.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, let's see how. There you go.
It's a terminal showing white text on a black background.
Okay. So is this better? Looks good. Great. All right. So right now we can see that we have the label for Nginx as run, and so labels are usually key values, right? So the key here is run and the value is Nginx. So how to set labels is you use the kubectl command line to say kubectl label port and pass the name of the port. So in this case, the name of our port is this is the name of the port. So
Is there a way to wildcard so you could show all the Nginx pods that you had out there?
yes, absolutely. So right now we only have one port. When I created the deployment, I only specified one port. So a couple of ways you can find out the number of Nginx pods that are running is, see, you can run kubectl get deploy, because in this case, I used the kubectl run, which created a deployment. And then, so let me just show that to you. So as you can see, the cube, when I created it, it created a deployment that says, you know, what I want is one. I'm desiring just one, and currently is running one. So, and when you run the kubectl get ports, it shows you the port that is actually running. So this is exactly the same name I got from, you know, running the kubectl get port. So from the configuration right here. So did that answer your question?
Yes, sir. But I was wondering, like, if you didn't want to have to type all of the hash that they put in there to make a unique identifier, if you could do like nginx -* and get it, especially if you had several different pods, perhaps for different uses.
So this is basically what the label is for. So right now, I don't know of a wildcard for names. So
Nor I.
the basic, one of the reasons why we use labels is, so let's say you create an application, right? And you label, you probably have 60 of the application running in an environment, and you want everything with that particular label. So I'm going to get to something like that that's going to give you an example of, you know, how to do what you're requesting. So
sure, I use that strategy as well, where if I have 3 pods that collaborate to make an application, I'll put a label on them so I can search for that label and see just the things that make up that application. I was wondering if there's a more elegant way. So I guess the answer is kind of no.
Yeah, except if there's anybody in the, you know, in the, maybe I probably don't know about it, but I haven't come across that. So except if there's anyone that knows if you know, we can use wildcards with the names for pods. So if you have any information on that, please feel free. So I'm going to go ahead and create the label. Oh, okay. I think someone is trying to say something about the previous question.
All right. Hello. So from my end, I mean, I do the same thing. For example, I was deploying an application that talks to it's a deployment, right? And that talks like other ports in the same tenant. So if I'm trying to like if I'm trying to grab all the ports for a particular tenant, I use the label strategy. As far as I know, the best way is still label, and that's how even the controller, I mean, based on what I understand, label is like the way controller actually identifies, you know, what is actually in charge of, right? So the best strategy I know is kubectl get port -l run equals nginx. So that should give you, like, you know, the port that have the label what run equals nginx. That you can try like other things. Maybe try to use metadata, something like that. Maybe grep ports that have particular name, but that's way more complex from my understanding. Yeah, you can use grep bets. You know, if you look for something, how do I put this? If you're looking for like something like, how do I say, the neat? I like, you know, when the keep state command is neat. So grep, for some reason, it's complicated the whole thing for me most of the time. So the simple strategy is to use label, but you can also use grep, just like Jose also said.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and label the port. Again, get port. Next. No. Take me to a different terminal. There you go. Get it out. So for instance, right now I'm specifying the key for this label as app, and the name, let's call it, I'll say test label. So right now to check if, to check the labels for the port that we just created, the quickest way to do that is to do kubectl get ports and do a -- show labels. And as you can see, it added the app is equals to test label to the running port. Now back to the question that was asked not so long, and what Tunde was talking about. So right now, for instance, if we had another application running, and we had several pods running in our cluster, a way to find out applications, using a particular pod is to run kubectl. So before doing that, let me just create a test, a different pod, kubectl. Box. Okay. So right now we have two pods running. We have the BusyBox pod running and the Nginx pod running. So what I'll do is I would use the label to actually get just the Nginx pod. So if you run the kubectl get pods and specify -l specify -l and put in the name. So the name of the label, and so you can see all we got back was the Nginx. So this is one of the use cases for labels. Now there's several other things that labels are used for. So we use labels for actually assigning pods or deployments to a particular service. Labels are used for node selection also. A couple of things you can use, a lot of things you can use labels for, but without going too deep and outside of what we're trying to do today. This is how much I plan on going for labels. And in the next couple of series, we'll be going further because I'm not trying to overwhelm people with everything that label does. So right now, one thing is we were able to create two pods, right? A way to get more visibility into what is going on in the application is by checking the logs. And luckily for us in Kubernetes, it's very, very easy to grab logs from a pod, provided that the pod actually sends out the pod has a way of actually putting out the logs. So right now, if I run kubectl log, I think the log has been deprecated. Logs and passing the name of the pod. Let's hope that BusyBox has something. Oh no, let's try Nginx. Oh, so there's no log. BusyBox. Okay, right now, as because there's probably no command running inside of either pod. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a command inside of the BusyBox. So kubectl
Before that goes away, Tunde, could you like describe what you're doing? Is it does it start with the actual exe or the executable and then program arguments as other list items?
What is going on with this image? Let me see. I'm going to clear this. All right, so let's try this one more time. So, alrighty, where are you? For some reason, this is throwing a fit, but let's close this. I'm going to try to figure out why this is doing this later. So, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to try to do this another way by just creating a manifest for this build box. So I have this saved somewhere. So what I'm actually trying to do is I'm trying to create an application that actually sends information out. So,
Okay, here's a thought. If you're using the JSON log driver, will it dump standard out to the log or will it eat it?
let's see. Let's hope this works this time. So let's just I'm thinking about something that is going to be recurring. So oh. Okay. Someone's good. Okay, so right now, there's probably an error, but this time around, they actually returned the log. So basically, all I was trying to do was I was trying to actually get something to happen inside of the application. So this way, we were able to find out that you know, when the shell opened, you know, it couldn't open the C. And what happened is, I know what happened was because I omitted. So if you look at the busy box, the YAML file, I omitted the dash in here. So this requires an extra dash. So if we delete the old one, all right, so it threw back that error because the old port that was running is still terminating. And the thing about ports is you can have two ports with the same name in a cluster. So let's try this one more time. It's still running. So we can create this with a different name. So I think the demo gods are trying to give us a little bit trouble today. Oh, there you go. All right. So there you see. So when I run the kubectl logs, finally, let me increase this. So when I run the kubectl logs -f right now, this basically, it's like running a tail -f on the logs file. And what it does is it streams out the log. So basically what it did was it showed us what was running inside of the application. So what command, what executed, what happened inside of that application. One other way to get into applications using the exec command. So right now, if you run kubectl exec, and you do this interactively and passing the name. So one other way, like if you run out of options and you forget like the commands, you can run the -h and it shows you, you know, how to find out what you're trying to find out. So this is the help option. So in this case, all I'm going to do is specify the name, which is command demo 2. So the name of the prod, then so we need the bean shell. Oh, sorry, container name, busy box. What did we call the container? Oh, okay, so the container is called command demo container. That is why it wasn't working. Okay, what is happening here?
I think since it's not currently running, you're not going to be able to exec into it. It's in a crash back off loop.
Something here. Seems like it's probably restarted. So let's use the Nginx instead then. So oh, there you go. There was something wrong with the container. That's why it kept on. So it was having a crash loop back error. So it's probably a network issue or something with the image. So kubectl is the dash it dash bin/shell. All right, so there you go. So if you notice when I tried to exec into the previous container, we were having issues, and this was basically because there was something wrong with the basic box image. I think there's something wrong with the current basic box image. I think it was reported recently. So it's probably maybe why I'm having a crash look back error, because as you can see, it has 5 restarts. But we were able to get into the Nginx port. So if you're on the LS, you can see everything that is within the Nginx image. And this is how you exec into a pod. This is how you get into a pod and a pod image to see what's going on inside. So you can run the PS command inside. This image probably doesn't. So this image probably doesn't have the PS installed in it. So exit. All right, so that's what I was trying to show with logs. So moving on to the next thing we have is so one of the next things we're trying to look at was how to share data between two different containers. And the way to do this is you have to do this using a manifest. For exam purposes, when you come across this kind of question, and it's probably going to take you a lot of time to write the manifest for this. So one thing you can do is you can go to the kubernetes.io page, since that is allowed during the exam. So let me.
So there's a question from Tony. He wants to know what kind of log you get from a port. Do we just get like STD out or STD error or both?
Both.
Yeah.
Both.
Yeah. That's
both.
I'm just trying to put it out there so that others can also keep track.
Yeah. Thank you. That's a very, very good question. So volumes. So one thing I'm trying to do right now is show some ways to, as the documentation, I think when the documentation changes, some of the search changes also. But before taking the exam, advise that advise that you should know where to find, things like, where volumes are going to be, like, so, so in this example right now, this is volume is being configured, right? And so let's go ahead and do this. So for exam purposes, one thing you can do is just click on this button right here, copy to clipboard, and just go to your terminal and paste and open using the VI editor. Go into this VI and whatever you plan on calling it. So we call it the YAML and paste in there. Just remember to pick the first one. All right, so in this case, right here, we're using an empty directory volume. This is a non-persistent volume, and we're mounting that volume into the Redis image, and this is the volume mount. So the mount part shows what part inside of the Redis image that that we can find the empty directory. So yeah, a wget is also, I just saw that. So someone said for the exam also, you could also do a wget. Yes, you can do that. You can definitely do that. So, and what it meant by using a wget is just go over the, let me show that immediately before. So what you do is copy this link, copy the link, then go back to the, so let me save this. And so for my case, because I don't think I have wget installed. So one thing I use call, and so I think this should install it. Yes. And what is the image called? So as you can see, I have that downloaded as a YAML file inside of my. So that works also. You can get the manifest that way also. So kubectl create -f, and let's just use the Redis. And so as you can see, the volume was mounted. It was mounted inside of the container. So this is how you mount a volume. For example purposes, this is how you go ahead and find out where the manifest is and mount the volume into a particular image. So for your use case, you need to edit the name. You need to edit the name to match what the exam is asking for. And also, if it's asking you to create that in namespace, you edit that also before actually creating the file. So before creating the object, I'm sorry. So this is that for shared volumes, for volumes. So one of the things I was trying to show was init containers, and the reason why I keep on going to the documentation is because I'm trying to show how to actually find it. So containers, yeah. Let's see, we have that in here. Okay, before going to init containers, but yeah, let me just use this image. We can use the same image for init containers, and that should do it. So basically, this is a shared volume. This is an example of a shared volume. So to find a shared volume, one thing you can do for the exam purpose is type in toContainerPort.yaml. So like, let's say you were looking for a shared volume, you can type in this toContainerPort.yaml inside of your search box, and you'd find this manifest right here, and you can either copy it or use it using wget or using call and modify it to match the requirements of your question. So I think we can easily do this also. So copy this also, just create a copy right here. So far, does anybody have any questions? Feel free to unmute yourself. Feel free to interrupt me if you have any question, or if I missed something that you feel like you can add more on, or you feel like there's a way to, a faster way to actually get some of this, some of the information on this. So. So in this case, there are two containers being specified. We have the Nginx container and using the Nginx image. And also we have the Debian container using the Debian image. And if you notice, they're both mounting to the same volume. So, so the volume, this is the volume right here. The volume is created right here, and the name of the volume is shared data. So the name of the, when you're mounting that volume inside of a container, you see the name, you'd have to pass in the name of the volume you're sharing, and the mount part. I mean, mount part is where inside of the container or inside of the image you would like to see the what is being shared in the container. So in this example, in the Debian image, we're running hello from Debian container, and we're putting it inside the port data and index HTML file. And you know, if all things, oh, there's a mistake somewhere here. So let's correct this. All right, so to test this, right, I'm going to go ahead and create this. So basically what is going to happen is this change that is being made inside of this Debian image to this file can also be seen inside of this Nginx container inside of at this same part. So let's test this out. So all right, so kubectl, let's run kubectl get ports to confirm that our containers are running. So as we can see, we have the two containers running, and it's completed. All right, so let's see, kubectl exec. By the way, another way besides, so I've been showing one command I haven't run today is the kubectl describe. So this is another way of getting more information about a particular port. So kubectl describe port, two containers. So this gives you a lot more information. So with the kubectl get ports to containers, right? It shows the name of the container. It tells you what node it is running on. So for instance, if you had 5 nodes running and you wanted to know where the port is running or where your application is running, you run this. If you run the kubectl describe port and the name of the port, it tells you what node it is running on. So this is another way of actually debugging and actually finding more information. This is steps to actually troubleshooting your application if something is going wrong. So it might be that the Docker service that is running on the node is, has been stopped. So you jump into that node, you restart it, or it could be kubeproxy that is not allowing the Docker, the application to run. So these are some of the reasons why we run the describe, and also see it shows you the name of the containers that is running in there. Also, you can get a lot of information on using the kubectl describe. So what I wanted to figure out was I was trying to figure out the names of the containers, and so in this case the name of the container is Nginx container and Debian container. So now the reason why I was trying to find out is because I'm about to run the kubectl exec command, and now we have multiple ports. So from the last example, we created a port. We exec into a port that had only one container running inside of it. Now we have 2 containers running inside, right? So if you exec into the port, you need to specify which of the containers that you're actually trying to go into. And the way to do that is to run kubectl exec-it, specify the name of the port, which is 2 containers. And also the name of the container that we're trying to check in this case. So in this case, let's start with the Debian container. So, and let's get into the main shell. Okay, so I think this is because the port is having issues. So let's see. Start Nginx. All right, so we're able to get into the Nginx container. So if you remember, I think we stored this in the shared data, right? So where are you? Let's look at that. So I'm going to exit out of this for a second. Just to show that file one more time. So the mount path is user/share. So this is where we're looking for. So what I was trying to find out is I forgot what the mount path was, and I came back into the manifest to actually check where the data is being stored. So cat index. So I keep on trying to use tab completion. All right, so as you can see, the echo command that was run inside of the Debian inside the Debian image can also be seen. The result of it can also be seen inside of the Nginx container. So this is how you share data between two containers. Now, there's several ways to share data between multiple containers. We have something called a config map. There are tons of ways to do this. So you can use the volume type. So in this case, what we're using is an ephemeral volume type, right? Which is the empty. Let me show that to you. Again. So in this case, when I refer, this is the empty dir. So this is ephemeral. So when you delete the port, everything that you run doesn't persist on your host system. So, but now we're using a different one. And let's say we're using something called a persistent volume, and we'll get to that in the later series. But those actually retain whatever you did inside of your containers. So, does anybody have any questions about sharing volumes between containers? Feel free to unmute yourself, or if you have anything to add to this.
So the basic process is that any container within a pod.
I think someone is trying to say something, but they're probably on mute.
Is my sound okay now? Can you hear me now?
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay. So the basic procedure here is any container within a pod, if it has a volume mount with the same name, it will be the same data. Is that correct? And then you can control where that is within the container using the mount path?
Correct. Exactly. That is exactly what it does. So the volume mount is basically, so for instance, we had the Debian image, right? And we had the Nginx image. The volume mount just allows you tell, so in the Debian image, in this case, we echoed, hello from Debian into pod data index.html. But if you look at the mount part for the Nginx, it says users share Nginx in HTML. What was created actually in the Debian image is this index.html, and this is the only thing that goes into this HTML directory, because this is the mount part. So this mount part actually replaces what this shared data is. So think about the shared data as a starting point, but is replaced with this part. So everything that goes into the shared data is always going to be in this mount part for this particular container. Does anybody have any other question?
There's a question. Never mind.
Oh, okay. So I see. There's a question that says, can you share volumes between containers in different ports? Well, so to share volumes between containers in different ports, this is not the way to do that. Right? You probably want something that is persistent in this case. You'd have to use a persistent volume and to do something like that. In this case, we're using ephemeral, so that is not going to be possible. All right, so what else did we have? So I was going to show something on init containers, and let's go to that. Let's just do something on init container. And what we will do is just modify this to actually serve the purpose. Okay. I didn't know. So let's take this out. So, oh, come on. So let me just explain what init containers are. So the way init containers work is when you have an init container inside of a pod, it actually runs the container that is specified under the init object before running the other container. So if the init container fails, it would never run the application. Now, why do we need init containers? I think Tunde is trying to say something about that. So.
Okay, hello, can you hear me? All right, so in each container, you can think of them as a way to like do some pre-task. So for example, you have a Java application. You have a container for that, right? That is your main application. But before your Java application needs to run, there are some dependency that needs to take place. Now, how do you run those activities before that Java container runs? That's where init container comes in. So Kubernetes is going to tell you these containers are very crucial before this other container can run. So just like Tunde said, if something happens and your init container fails, then nobody's going anywhere. Everything is going to fail. So your init containers have to pass before your main container, which is the one that you have, your main container. So before they can be executed, right? I mean, in my case, in our production environment, we use init container to do, I used it in my case to do like some what we call default configuration, right? So before our application comes up, right, some configuration needs to be in LDAP. Some things have to be in LDAP, or else our application is not going to come up right. So I used init container for that, right? So before the application itself starts, the container configuration job is going to run, therefore paving way for the main application. So that's my explanation of init container.
Oh, sorry about that. I'm trying to keep this as simple as possible. So let me enlarge my screen. I try not to create this from scratch, and I just go to the documentation. For example, please don't do this. Just go into the documentation and search for a manifest for init containers and modify that. That would save you a lot of time than actually writing this from scratch. So, right, I think that should do it. And we need to kind of do this. Init containers. Let's see. Yeah, I think this should do it. All right, as you can see, we just created the pod init containers has been created. kubectl get pods. All right, so it failed. There's an error. kubectl. Let's look into what is causing this error. kubectl describe. Okay, so to see what is happening here. So one of the containers is failing. In this, so back off. So this might be a network issue from my end. Blocks, but let me grab it. Let me grab a different port specification. And so I'm going to try to do this. I'm going to try to use a different one to do this. Make a demo. This is problem with live demos. kubectl create -f and today is init demo. It says missing few containers. I'm trying to. So let me try. I think there might be something wrong with this image I'm using. So let me try to get something from the documentation page. So init containers. Okay, this is one example of an init container right here. So let me copy this and use this instead. Okay. So let's see, kubectl init port. So my app port init. So as you can see, it says init 0/2. So let's see what's going on with the my app port. kubectl. Yeah. We're trying to actually describe it. So in this case, let me open the manifest so we can see what is actually happening. So in this case, we had two init containers in this case. So the first one, the init my service, what it was doing is it checks to see if the service is actually ready, right? And then after checking that, it needs my DB actually does a check on the NS lookup on the my DB. And then after that is completed, that is only when the container is going to start running. And so this actually gives a perfect example of some of the reasons why we use init container, right? So, but there are several other ways that this can be used. We can do something called probing. So we have something called a readiness probe that we can use for purposes that satisfy these purposes, and that you can use in better ways also. But these are some of the use cases we can use init containers for. So to get init containers, if you're looking for where to find it during the exam, this is one way, somewhere you can find it. So what I just searched for was init containers.yaml. I think from actually debugging some of the errors, we actually exhausted. I exhausted a lot of time, and it seemed like I might not be able to cover some of the things we're trying to do in the demo. But like I said, feel free, like after this today's presentation, to find out most of the where most of the objects and resources that is in the curriculum can be found in the documentation. Like for instance, try to find out where you can find a port specification. Find where you can find a deployment specification. Remember, so think about this. Like you probably need to create a deployment during the exam. So one that I know is there is an Nginx deployment .yaml file somewhere in the documentation, and easily you can find that. So, and copy paste it. So this is an example of what I was talking about. Also, like volumes, right? Click on volumes. And for instance, sidecar. So if you're looking for a container that shares volume, so this is one way to find it. You type in sidecar, you can easily find that. So this is some of the things that would save you a lot of time during the exam. It would save you a lot of time during the exam, and especially for the questions where you require a manifest. And so if you missed the last meetup, some other things that could help during the exam is the simple kubectl run command. Instead of creating a deployment using a manifest. So if I go back to the terminal, you can easily run let me just show this. So you can run things like kubectl run and say Nginx in this case, and specify the image. Let's go to Nginx. And then one thing you can do is specify the -- dry run command on it. And what it does is it actually just creates a manifest, right? It creates the manifest, and you can pass it into so the dashboard, and pass it into a file, and maybe call it Nginx. So exactly. So this is one way to actually create a manifest without actually, typing everything. So specify the dry run command and pass in this without actually creating the object. So well, right now, I think this is the last demo I'll be able to do. For the next series, I would like to know some of the things that maybe anybody that is taking the exam, that is planning to take the exam, would like to see. And also, I would encourage people to actually get more involved in the Slack channel. We have a lot of people within the community that knows Kubernetes. You know, there are a lot of people around here. I'm very sure there are several. There are other CKAs and certified Kubernetes administrators in the group. So feel free to reach out in the Slack channel. You know, if you have a question, post it there. If you're having trouble working on something, there's always going to be someone to help with that. If I and Tunde are always available. We're always available for Kubernetes questions. So, and feel free to actually share your questions with the community. Today, before I pass it back to Tunde, does anybody have any question for me on anything that we've worked on today, or regarding the next presentation? Hello? Feel free to unmute yourself.
Perhaps a notion of the kinds of skills that you would need to be prepared for the test, like doing a shared container or shared data volume between two containers within a single pod. I would have never guessed that. I haven't looked at the study guide recently, but I love being able to do these things repeatedly to try to get some speed and some skill and really ingrain it in my mind. So just this review is awesome.
Thank you. In the first presentation, we actually, if you check the slides, we actually put a couple of tips there and some things that are going to help you, work faster during this exam. And those are part of the things that I'm actually trying to show during these presentations. That's why a lot of, if you're using Kubernetes every day, some of the things I'm doing is probably not going to be exactly how you're going to do it, because then you're more relaxed. The time constraints is not there. But if we're working with 24 questions, and, I think someone posted in there that you have 7.5 minutes per question. And so you need to actually maximize your time. You need to use your time efficiently. And also, one thing that is very important is knowing, I mentioned the places to find this manifest inside the Kubernetes.io page. That is very, very important. Knowing how to make quick fixes, quick changes, using commands like kubectl set, updating images, those will definitely help you during the exam. Understanding how to use commands like cut, knowing how to use JSON part, and we'll look at all that in the next series. Any other question? Feel free to share your questions. Just unmute yourself and share your questions. I'm trying to get this as interactive as possible, so I understand what people are trying to actually coming in here to learn. Maybe if you're just starting Kubernetes, and so I know, where to start from, and so I'm able to actually answer your questions also. All right. I'm going to pass it back to you.
No, that's I want to say that is for me. That's I don't have practical experience with Kubernetes, only theory. It's good. It's excellent what you did, and I think that's of course for the exam. I think we're gonna need more like a structure to know all the steps that we need to study. But for me, it was excellent. I want to say thank you, and I hope we can continue this because it's going to be very, very good for me, particularly. Okay, thanks, Tunde. Thank you.
Babatunde, I wanted to mention that, you know, I worked a lot with Kubernetes, but just watching you do things and contrasting that to the way that I do things really helps me question what I do. I notice some tips. So just observing, I think there's a really good value in that and your demos.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So, okay. Hello?
Sound quality is good.
So thank you very much today.
Oh yeah. So before I actually give this to Tunde, I forgot to mention something. So if there's anyone in here that is willing to do a presentation on maybe a different open source technology on DevOps, or maybe, you know, we probably have some configuration management experts in here also, and you would like to do a presentation, please feel free to reach out to Tunde and I through the Meetup page or through on Slack. We are open to people to present also here. Please feel free to reach out to us. We actually have a couple of people that are lined up for the next couple of presentations. We have some agile presentations coming on, some presentations on blockchain, on DevOps with blockchain, and also monitoring with DevOps also. So a lot of cool topics are coming also that we'll be discussing in here. And I really look forward to seeing a lot of you in there.
Okay, so finally, I mean, just like Tunde mentioned, we have like a couple of meetup lineup right now. So we are very willing, because we like to source people from the community because it makes it more interactive. So if you have like a presentation that you'd like to give, or somebody that you think is willing to like share, that doesn't mind sharing like knowledge with like, you know, a number of people. You know, sometimes we get like 80, 90 people that come to this meetup. So if you have those kind of person, that kind of person, please feel free to like reach out to Tunde and me. Just message anyone on Meetup, and we are going to reply you as soon as possible. So we are going to continue this, like, you know, every 2 weeks. The goal is to actually introduce people to Kubernetes, because in this meetup we have some people whereby, I mean, they've never, like, you know, built up a cluster before or run a kubectl command. So the goal is to introduce them while at the same time, you know, getting up to speed with those who are actually like very familiar with the environment, right? So next week we are going to discuss, you know, different set of Kubernetes objects next week, like different kind of like features of Kubernetes that pertains to the exam. Right now, for example, I was talking to him about, you know, today about talking about things like admission controller, but we can't really talk about that right now because that does not pertain to the exam. So we are trying to focus on what pertains to the exam. That is why it takes its time to go through and try to explain each phase. And enough talking. All right, so Tunde said he has one more thing, just one more thing.
It seems like I'm not running out of things to say. Well, I promise this is the last one. So I know there are a lot of people in the, you know, in the DevOps community in this in this in this meetup. And so we usually have people that are wanting to hire DevOps engineers, junior DevOps engineers, senior DevOps engineers, leads for DevOps engineers. And there's actually a position available right now for a senior DevOps engineer at Cyber GRX. I'm going to go ahead and post the name of the company in the chat, and also I'll post this on the Slack channel also. So it's a Denver-based startup company, and they're looking for a senior DevOps engineer. So if you're interested, please feel free to message me in Slack, and so I can get you in contact with the person who posted the job.
Yeah. So that's great. Thank you, Tanda.
Oh, I think someone is speaking.
Are you able to hear me?
Sound is good.
Okay. Hi guys. This is wonderful. I don't think I can hear your voice, Tanda.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah. Now, yes.
Oh, sorry about that. All right. Just I just went through like a couple of stuff. Today mentioned about the job. So if you are looking for a position, we have people, we have meetup in different cities, and people reach out to us like, hey, I'm looking for someone with this particular skill. I'm looking for someone like, lately it's like everybody wants someone with Kubernetes. Even if all you do is just type into the terminal, they still want you to know Kubernetes for some reason. So we get like a lot of those requests. So please reach out to us if you're also looking for a position. We can forward your resume also. And I don't have anything else unless Tunde has one more thing.
I'm not looking for any positions at this point in time.
Yeah, he's saying something.
I'm still learning Kubernetes to start with. This is my first WebEx. WebEx that happened 2 weeks ago. Yeah, this is a good topic. So do you have an agenda for the next WebEx meetup to cover that? You're in mute.
Sorry about that. So some of the things that we're planning on looking at for the next meetup is so it would be definitely picking up from the ones we didn't complete today, which is let me show that to you. So we're able to look at secrets today, and also I would like for us to look a little bit more on debugging. And right now, the limitations that we have is because I was running on a Minikube cluster, and for the debugging, I would like to actually have a multi-node cluster. And the reason for this is so we can do debugging on nodes, and also I would create some issues and show how to track certain errors, like understanding some of the errors that come out, like when you try to create a container, like maybe the image error, image pool error, crash loop back error, and kind of show ways of actually finding out this. Some of the things I also looked at is how to assign a pod to a particular node using things like node selector. So that is one of the things that I'm looking at also, showing daemon sets, how to actually put our nodes in a maintenance mode using, kubectl condone. So that is some of the things I'm trying to do. We can't do that using a Minikube cluster. So that's an example of some of the things that we're trying to do in future meetups. But I'm trying to keep this as steady as possible, not to overwhelm people. And, those are some of the things. And also feel free, if there's something I'm not mentioning that you would like to know, I can't stress this enough, post on the Slack channel. There's a lot of us in there. A lot of questions can be answered.
Yeah, sure. That's great. Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I learned how you debugging tips. Debugging tips are very good. I started with a quick start Kubernetes how to Hello World documentation from the Kubernetes, and I was successful able to run Kubernetes on a single node and able to run it. Now I will experiment with sharing between containers concept in my local and see if I have any questions. I will post it on Slack.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much for that. Thank you. I really appreciate you posting those questions. Thank you. I also started, when I started working with Kubernetes also, I also started using a single cluster also. So
All right, guys. So um, I'm going to probably like that. This is the end of the meeting. So we are going to meet in 2 weeks with the topics that we've described. And I hope to see you guys there. Please, we'd love to have you. We hope we could share drinks, but it's not possible. I wish we could share drink over Wi-Fi, but it's not possible. So bring your own drink. All right. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you.